Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lautaro.
Welcome to the Rangers Journal.
Evening and welcome to the Rangers Journal. Slight change up to the plans tonight. So obviously the title of the episode was Creating Chances. Unfortunately, we've a slightly smaller panel than we intended, so it's just myself and Craig tonight. Craig, how you doing, mate?
Yes, mate, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Busy day, but we're here now. We're good to go.
Aye, that's it, mate. That's it, absolutely. So instead of the chance creation tonight, we're going to keep that back for another episode, and instead, myself and Craig are going to do a Q&A for you. So please do get involved in the comments. Any question within reason goes. Craig, let's kick off. I'll give you one to start us off until the comments start coming in. So I'm curious what your thoughts were on the formation change against Hibs and how you felt that kind of impacted our overall control of the game.
Well, it's funny. We seem to revert back to. I felt we kind of reverted back to a 4. Although sometimes when I was sitting watching it, maybe it was just when Hibs had the ball, it felt like we went back to a 5. It felt more like Aarons was tucking in and Sterling was more centre half. And but when we had the ball, it seemed like Magoma was playing more of a fullback role with Curtis, but Mikey Moore had more of a free rein on the right hand side, and that allowed Aarons to move forward and then Sterling to come across. It was quite funny. It was quite interesting how it worked. I thought we struggled with it for the first maybe half an hour, 35 minutes. I thought Hibs had the better of us. It was maybe just getting used to it. But I think if you have a system that you go with for the first time and it ends up being a win with a clean sheet, I think you can't be too disheartened. And I think as the game went on, we kind of grew into it more. So it's maybe just getting used to it. But it was interesting, and it'll be interesting to see because he's switched things around a few times now. He's had 4s, he's had 3s at the back. So it'll be interesting to see if he's going to go forward with this. He's going to keep pushing with it. It's all just everyone's just getting ready for January. Everyone's just waiting to see what happens in terms of transfers in January.
Yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting point you made about that formation. I think initially it did look like the players were maybe quite as used to it as you'd want going into the game. I think we were talking in the tactics group chat, and we were sort of commenting on how Barham was almost dropping back as well, and it almost became a 6 at points at the back because he was coming so deep to receive the ball. But as you say, we adjusted to it, and do you know what? I think the thing that stood out for me, how long have we all sat here as fans and said, Christ, if only we could grind out results like the days of Walter, etc. Now, I'm not getting carried away with just doing it the once, but it was certainly really positive that as much as it wasn't always pretty, it never felt uncomfortable either. It felt like we still had a good amount of control of the game. Okay, so 2 questions to choose from. Right, let's go for the longer one first. So, do you think the board will go out all out in January like they did with the summer spending?
Well, that purely depends on how much is left. The thing is, the point I always go to on this is the accounts that came out a few weeks ago. They only came up to the end of June, which means all of the big transfers in terms of transfers going out. Yefty went out after that. It was at a fair price. Egerman went out. It was August, and Dessers went out. We got a good couple million.
Dessers was later, yeah.
from Panathinaikos. So we're not really, even with those accounts coming out, we're not 100% sure how much money's in there. But what we need to keep in mind is that there is real need in, certainly I would say, left back and centre half, and that has to be addressed. How much money is going to be spent on it, I don't know. If you're going to do a January mid-season fix-up, or if you're going to go out and actually, make substantial signings for the future. I don't know, but the only left back at the club currently is 19 years old, and he's on loan. So that within itself needs to be addressed. Again, whether you just patch it patch it up in January, and then go all out in the summer, or you find a permanent now. I'm not sure, but certainly there needs to be something done. I think it would be shrewd to look to the future now rather than just go for more little bits of patchwork to fill in gaps in the squad. I think they should. Whether they will, I'm not sure. I have reservations on whether they will, just after how disastrous the summer was. They might not be so keen on splashing so much cash again so soon afterwards. But they have got different people in, so they might think, well, we've got a different head coach. We have this new guy. Is it Bjornaby? Is that how you pronounce his name? The guy that came in today.
That's a great question. If anyone can answer that in the comments, how do you pronounce the Scandinavian advisor that we have appointed?
So this guy. So I've been doing some research on this guy because I'm a journalist and that's my job now. And it's interesting. We'll definitely have something up for the journal at some point on this guy. I haven't quite concluded all my research on his past work in Denmark, but what I've seen so far is interesting, and I think there's reason to think that this guy is good, but time will tell.
You must have been reading the comments, because that was actually Doug's question, was about this new chap. As you say, by all accounts, quite highly rated, not signed as an interim or even a stand-in kind of sporting director. They've been very keen to kind of make clear that he is just in an advisory role. So
they gave it a different name. They gave it a different name, didn't they? It was Football Advisor is the one I read.
Aye. I think for me, as much as he's not been bought in as a sporting director right now, you'd have to see how it goes, because, you know what I mean, if he does a stupendous job, the board, or certainly Kavanagh and Marath, like him, he likes the club, then maybe there is a world that he stays. It could almost be, you know, like taking a player on loan. It's almost a try before you buy option. I think the only other thing I would add to what you said about the January incomings is, I think we need to remember as well, it is kind of a notoriously difficult market to shop in sometimes. And even if the money is there, it doesn't necessarily mean that the players we want are available. So
yeah,
I'm with you. I think it'll be really interesting for a kind of variety of reasons. I think the reason that's on a lot of fans' minds is probably this question. Who do you think will be sold? And you can't say the whole team.
So I think it's pretty much confirmed now that Rothwell will be going. There's been a few English Championship teams sniffing around him. Look, you're celebrating, right? And I get it. He was awful. But I think he's been done a little bit. I think Martin really done him by playing him as a 6 instead of an 8. I mean, he even gave him the 6 shirt. Like, he was...
Maybe he played as a double 6 for Leeds the season before, did he not?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I can't say for sure. I didn't watch enough of Leeds last year to say for sure. But I think just looking at him, I think he was more suited to be an 8 and pushing a little bit further forward. And I think he was asked to do a different job. But regardless of that, you are a professional football player. You have been brought in with a fairly decent reputation from the English Championship, and you've been brought in to Rangers where you don't have any time to make excuses. It's win or forget about it, because you don't have any other option. And this guy was not a part of a winning team and was a big reason as to why the team was not winning, really, when you look at the games he played. So he'll be gone. There's other players on the outskirts. I don't understand why. I know it's probably not going to get sorted now, but I don't understand how Oscar Cortez is still a Rangers player. I know he's not here right now.
Because we only signed him this summer, technically.
I know.
I take your point, but strange one.
There's other ones. I think Matondo could be out the door, although it's just unsure about these guys because they've either been away or been gone for so long with injury. I'm trying to think of other
convinced
players.
on Matondo, mate. I'm struggling to see who you sell him to, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, they tried to because he was away on loan. Yeah, he went away on loan at someone. Was it Hanover in Germany? And it didn't work for him, and it's just it's strange.
I honestly think he will run his contract down, if I'm being truthful. I think as far as Cortez goes, I don't think he'll be sold because, again, I could see us struggling to find a buyer for him. That is a situation that's going to need fixed sooner or later, Phil. Let's be honest, everything he's shown so far since his injury suggests that he is not going to be a Rangers player long term. So, I guess that's probably a challenge for the board to try and figure out how they get as much money as possible back, or is he going to be another Matondo that just sits here for years draining the wage bill?
I'm racking my brains trying to think of other players. There's other ones that you're just like, you could sit here and talk about Chermiti, but realistically, the guy's not going anywhere. If you can get a loan deal for him, I guess, but he's not going anywhere. And it's funny because if you look at, I've seen a few people saying that they felt that Hibs game was his best performance. I'm not sure. I think he's pulled out those performances before, because there's times when they'll play the ball up to him and his link up play will be fantastic and everything will be great. And maybe don't score, maybe doesn't get a shot away, but his link up play is good. And then when you go to like 5 minutes later and the game goes to Chermiti again, and then Chermiti lets the ball bounce off him and it goes straight to an opposition player, or it bounces straight out for a throw in or something, and Chermiti can't, he can't have that level of consistency. So it's just like it's not even that you're talking about Chermiti game by game consistency. You're talking about Chermiti, minute by minute consistency. The guy sometimes does really well and sometimes he doesn't, and I think he's done that before. And I think that when Monday night was just another continuation of him being him, and the absolute kicker, which everyone has reposted a million times, is the shot that goes out for a throw-in. He just kicks the ball the way he's facing. He could have let the ball drop and go to I think it was Mikey Moore was running through, but he just let the ball. He just kicks the ball where it goes, and that's it. And I'm not sure where Dave is, but I can go through the questions and keep talking because I'll happily sit here and talk. And the burning question: does Matondo start against Celtic at New Year just for the Worldies? He will score. No, No, Matondo will not start on the 3rd of January. Matondo will not start on the 3rd of January. Has Dave gotten over the loss of Dessers yet? Don't think so. I can't answer for him. I think he's coming back. I can't answer for Dave, but I can't imagine he has. I mean, I haven't. And I didn't even want him to go.
Struggle through.
That's all right. I've just been rambling on.
It's all good, mate. It's all good.
I haven't got over Dessers leaving yet, and I wanted them to go originally. I just didn't realise what we were going to get in was going to be so poor. Maybe Miovski notwithstanding, considering he was starting to come onto form and he was unlucky to get that injury against Ferencváros. But he'll keep going. I heard that he might be back for the Hearts game, so we're doing all good there. Is there any players you'd take from the SPL? Absolutely. I mean, we're gonna go with, you know, guys that maybe aren't available anymore, like Lauren Shankland. You're gonna go with guys like Josh Mulligan. How Josh Mulligan did not become a Rangers player when Lyle Cameron did is just ridiculous. Again, it's just complete ineptitude from Rangers to not get that signing over the line, because it's not going to happen now. There's been links with him going to England. Leeds and Nottingham Forest have both been linked with him. I can't imagine him moving to Rangers now, especially Hibs would probably charge Rangers more money. There's a lot of people don't agree with me with this, but I really like Dave Watson from Kilmarnock. I think Dave Watson is a fantastic player. I would take a chance on him. The only thing is, you know, if you compare him, is he as good as, you know, again, I'll mention Lyle Cameron. Is he as good as Lyle Cameron? Maybe not. But when you look at players who might go, maybe not in January, but players who might go later on, you've got Nico Raskin might leave and Diomande might leave. Opens a door for Lyle Cameron. I don't know what Lyle Cameron has to do. To play, because he just seems like the missing link. I think him and Barron would be fantastic with Barron sweeping behind them and then Cameron going further forward. I think would be a great two for Rangers in the midfield, and you'd have someone else. You'd have Mikey Moore, and you'd have, you know, someone else with them further up the park. But those two, I think, would be great. So there's a few options. There's a few options from the SPL, but I'm not sure that we'll go for them, especially with the Scottish clubs in general. They don't want to sell to Rangers and Celtic, do they? They want to sell to foreign clubs so that these players don't end up playing against them. And when they do sell to Rangers and Celtic, they'll up their price. And it's just the way things are. It's the way things will always be. That's what they're looking for. Do you think we could see another quick switch back to the Eredivisie with Antman? I don't think they'll get him whilst he's injured. I don't think he'll go anywhere. But this is the thing with Antman, right? And this is the thing with the summer transfer window, as disastrous as it's been. If you look at Antman when he was in the Eredivisie, Antman got 16 assists in the Eredivisie. Right? If you get 16 assists in the Netherlands in a season, and you move to the Scottish Premiership, there's absolutely nothing there to say that you shouldn't do well. Like, Antman's a guy. He's a Finnish international. He's a guy that everyone would look at and go, "Yeah, that's a good signing for a Scottish club." And he's just not shown it. And I don't know if it's because all the scrutiny of the teams. We back, Dave? I
think so. It's not letting me put the camera on, so that's probably a blessing for the viewers on YouTube. But yeah, I'll go with voice at least. I just wanted to say, you're talking about Ant-Man. Do you remember his first game for us?
And he was. Did he get man of the match? I can't remember, but it was the Pilsen game at home, and
he was
we beat him 3-0, and he was unbelievable. And then Russell Martin taught him how to not play football. It's absolutely insane.
Exactly. Exactly. The drop off is incredible after Martin got his got him on the coaching ground. Like,
yeah, and that's what I'm saying as well. Like, this is a guy. He gets 16 assists in a season in the Netherlands. How are you not a superstar in Scotland? Seriously, it's insane how poor
Russell Martin, this guy's been.
But yeah, I know. But it's funny because even when Roll took over, you know, Mikey Moore had a good jump in form. Like we started to see things from him. A few other players, even centre halves, even felt like they were a bit more solid. Although that's still a real issue for Rangers as centre half in general. But he just wasn't. Him and Gassama actually, because Gassama again started on fire and then died down, and he's had little moments, I suppose, Gassama with Roll. But these are two guys. We signed two wingers for the first time in years. We were going to have two wingers on the pitch, and everything was going to be great. And then Russell Martin played a system where everything was so narrow that the wingers never got to be wingers. And since Danny Rose came in, they haven't kicked on. And it's just like, what do you need from him? What is the problem here?
See, what interests me, though, is I do think he's improved our attacking play overall.
Absolutely.
He
absolutely.
talked about it with Miovski, and you saw that over a kind of week period with the 3 games, and you saw that gradual improvement. What you were saying about Chermiti, I think, I'm not sure it was his best game for us yet, but it certainly wasn't a bad game. It was an improvement over what we'd seen before. So I think he has got the ability to work with attacking players, but he just doesn't seem to be able to bring it to the wingers.
Yeah, and it's strange. Because look at Mikey Moore, because he's actually changed Mikey Moore's position, because he used to play outright, left wing or right wing with Martin, but he's gave him that more of a free role, and he's maybe more of a, maybe not, I wouldn't call him a 10, but in that sort of general area.
Like it's almost like a hybrid between a 10 and a second striker, isn't it?
It's quite weird, really,
he does it well.
Yeah, and it's really switched him on. Like, it's really improved his performances. And and we maybe need something along the lines for those two, for Ant-Man and Gassama. But Gassama's this guy. I think he has ridiculous amounts of talent. I think his situation is different. Like, even though the two of them are struggling, I think the situation is different. Gassama has a lot of talent. I just don't think he's able to show it. And I think he has poor. I think if there's one massive issue with Gassama, it's his decision making. He should shoot instead of cutting. Shoot instead of cutting side. He should pass instead of shoot, and this sort of thing. There's been times where he's got an easy shot with his left foot into. An easy shot with his right foot into the corner, and because he sees a defender coming, he'll cut inside onto his weaker left, and then he's given himself more of a difficult shot to take on.
Tell you what, then, I've got a question for you, right? Do you think Danny Röhl can fix that, given that he managed him at Sheffield United and that decision-making is still a bit flaky, or do you think that's just a maturity thing that'll maybe come with age?
It's potentially a maturity thing. I'll tell you the thing with Wednesday, when he was at Wednesday, because that team was just...
Wow.
That team was just... It had nothing. And Gassama was basically what they used to do is they used to sit with 10 men behind the ball, and Gassama was the one man that stayed up there. And because Gassama is so fast, they punted the ball up to him and he ran after it. and that's how they got a lot of their goals. Because I did see a fair bit of Wednesday when Roll was there. And I wasn't sure that Roll would be so good for Rangers, maybe just because I was watching that every day, and maybe that's just because that's what he was doing, because that's all he could do. But
to be fair, that was a bit of a bin fire
Yeah,
beyond
yeah.
just the players, wasn't it?
But I think he hasn't worked. My point is, I don't think he's worked with Gassama well enough. You know, in a situation where he's got a more settled team, where he's been able to fix it. I think, going off what you said, I would edge towards it's a maturity thing, and that he will get smarter to playing football at a club where he's going to.
Because if he could get his decision making right, there is 100% a quality player in there, isn't there?
That's why I opened my point was I think Gassama's got a lot of talent, because he has.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's 100% a player in there. I did hear, was it Villarreal that were interested? I saw something online, but it wasn't really
something like 4 million or something.
Yeah, it wasn't really picked up by any real sort of real reputable source. It was just online, a small independent place had been had been talking about it, so it was maybe not going to happen. But like, if you can get, because we paid what, 2.2 for him, which was Robin Wednesday,
about that, wasn't it? Yeah,
which is considering what we got, we have robbed Wednesday there. But again, they were in the position they're in. So if you were to get double your money now, you would have to think about it. But then it goes back to bringing players in January, because if you lose a player who's been playing for you as regularly as he has in January, you've then got to go and find one to replace him. And as you pointed out earlier, finding strong replacements in January when players tend to not be for sale mid-season is really difficult. So there's, again, you've got to look at it. But I don't think there'll be any real interest in Gassama just yet.
I don't think he's done enough yet. As much as I do think there's talent there, and obviously early on he got a couple of pretty important goals, looked really promising, but he's faded a wee bit, which is probably, again, in part due to coaching of a certain football terrorist, and his decision-making, I think, needs some work. What I would like to see from him, if I'm being honest, is we see out this season, that's his kind of bedding in season. Next year, we push on a bit. We hopefully don't embarrass ourselves in Europe like we kind of have to an extent, or certainly by our recent standards we have this year. And he does it on the European stage, because then I think if he can do it domestically, he can do it on the European stage, he's part of an actual winning team, then I think you're not talking about 4 million, you're talking about an awful lot more money. And I think that is a serious conversation, but that's a year and a half away yet for me. I don't think at this point, I get what you're saying, you're doubling your money, and there is an element of, you have to think about it. But actually, I think there's kind of scope to actually make an awful lot more out of him if we take that time, if we develop him as a player, fine-tune some of those kind of shakier metrics. I actually think you can make a lot of money out of Gassama.
He could be an Egerman type. But this is the thing with Egerman, he almost peaked too early for Rangers, because we only ended up getting a season out of him. But then I've got my own. I've said this before in the podcast. I've got my own thing about Egerman. I'm convinced there was a Nico Raskin style fallout between him and Martin, and that's why he decided to push the transfer and feign the injury and not come on and stuff. But that's a different story. But I think I think that there's a potential to get Egerman type money out of Gassama. As you say, it's going to take longer than it took to get it from Egerman. I think we could have got a lot more from Mega Man, as I say. But again, well, I'll not
If you
dwell.
keep
I'm
it
not.
this season and he pushes on, then I think because you've
Mhm.
done the work. But unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to do the work with him. And I think a lot of that, well, let's face it, I'm sure we all agree, but a lot of that came down to Martin as a coach and
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber that have now departed.
Mhm.
And between the three of them, let's be honest, they've done an awful lot of damage to this club in the transfer market. The
Yeah.
fact that we are sitting here after probably the biggest rebuild that most of us will remember. You know, we've had some big ones, but I'd say this was even bigger of a rebuild,
Mhm.
and they screwed it. So now
Completely.
we're actually in the bizarre situation where just 4 months on from our biggest rebuild in probably most fans' history, we're actually talking about needing to fix things and rebuild again. And it's wild. That for me is one cycle that we have to get out of, is this constant, ripping it up and redoing it every
Yeah.
6 months to a
But
year.
this is the thing, though. Again, if you just want to focus on left back, we ripped it up by we got rid of Red Van and we got rid of
Yeah.
Yefte, and then the only player we got in was a 19-year-old loanee from Brentford.
Yeah.
And it's no slight on Magoma because he's been solid enough. He's been a good player, but you're not winning trophies where the only left back in your squad is a 19-year-old loanee from Brentford. Like it's
Well,
ridiculous
it's a
how
way
they.
to say, right? Forget the player, right? Just forget the player for a minute. I mean, this guy could be best left back in the world. And
Mm.
what planet, if you're trying to rebuild a squad, do you sign one left back on loan? Right? Forget who it is. It's
Yeah,
just common sense,
yeah.
Enciala was bombed out the picture, so he's no go. Cornelius, right, he can cover left back, but he's not a left back,
He's
and
not left
he
back.
was our
No.
best defender before the injury as well, in my eyes. So
Yeah, in
that's
my eyes
really
as
where
well.
you
Yeah.
want him. So these clowns actually thought, I know what's a good idea for the season ahead. Let's sign one dude on loan who hasn't played an awful lot of senior football, so may well break down at some point,
Mm.
and that'll be us. We'll be good.
That'll be us. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
just smacks of such poor planning, and these guys were supposed to be sorting us for the future. It's
Yeah.
mental stuff.
Yeah, it's ridiculous stuff.
Here we go then. Doug, what you saying, Doug? Rule has been in place for 58 days, almost a half the time Martin was in place. How much longer is the Martin training excuse valid for players not performing? I don't think it was ever valid, if I'm being honest, mate. I think it was a factor, but at the same time, as Craig's already said, these guys are professional footballers. They've had more coaching than Russell Martin. Yes, it might have damaged them in the immediate, but you would expect that professional footballers can adapt and move past that very quickly when a new coach comes in. What do you reckon, Craig?
Yeah. Look, the Martin training excuse, as Doug put it, is not so much about the individual players' performances. It's more about, or it is to an extent, but it's more about how the team is set up and how the players are restricted. For example, I mentioned earlier the two wingers. We sign two wingers and then play them in a system where the wingers don't get wide, which just completely negates what wingers are there for. So it's not really an excuse when you're so far in with Danny Rose. As you say, he's been there for half the time Martin has been there, which is ridiculous in my head. Because in my head, Danny Rowe came in like yesterday. Like time has flown since Danny Rowe came in, but it's always that thing. When Rangers won the league in 2021, that season to me lasted about 10 minutes. That season flew by, and I think it's because when you're winning games and enjoying watching football, it doesn't feel like it lasts as long. Whereas when your team's really struggling, it feels like every game is twice as long as it actually is, and the season spreads. Instead of nine months, it spreads 18 months. it's just
Rangers fans know about teams struggling.
yes, they do. So Martin's Martin training thing. It's not really an excuse. Once he's out the door, and his systems and his way of doing things are out, and Danny Rose are in. Again, point I've already made, but professional football players, they can play. They can play and adapt to a different system, a different way of playing. And we should point out as well, this isn't Danny Rose. I don't think this is the way Danny Rose wants to play. He doesn't want to be grinding out results. I don't think.
I am glad you mentioned that.
Something that's in his DNA.
Really
this is a guy that's worked at Bayern Munich and the German national team. These aren't teams that grind out results. These are teams that keep the ball and win in style. I think he's just being able to realise that, he can't do that with the squad he's got. So he's adapted to make it something that will work and that will pick up points. Because in the end, if you scrape a 1-0 win like we did on Monday, it's 3 points just the same as, the 3-0 against Dundee or the 3-0 against Kilmarnock, where we were fairly more, we're fairly more composed, and we had the results sewn up very early. It was certainly very early in the Dundee game, and we didn't really look like ever losing the Kilmarnock game. So, you've got a guy here who knows what he's doing. He knows what he's needing to do, and he will know when he will be able to switch to something that's a bit more focused on keeping the ball, playing good football, winning in style. So this is again another reason why I've been pretty open in backing the guy since he got here, because when he first got here, I wasn't too happy because I'd seen little bits of Wednesday when he was there, and I wasn't overly impressed. But then when you look further into it and you see, well, he was doing it for a reason, and that's because he didn't have the players to do anything else. It's very shrewd. It's very smart.
I think it's a very welcome change after kind of going through the Martin period where, criticism wasn't allowed. It was always going to come good. We just had to be patient. We just had to accept that, losses were part and parcel of it. And eventually, in some utopia in Russell Martin's mind, it would all come good. The reality is, in football, if you're Pep Guardiola getting teams like, Manchester City, Munich, etc., then you can afford to have that kind of philosophy, and you've got the players that 9 times out of 10 are going to be able to carry out what you want. The reality is, for most other teams, you have to have a degree of flexibility. You have to adjust your game to an extent, depending on your opponents. And this isn't me saying we start panicking about what Livingston are going to do next time we play them and, just totally play our game to suit what they're going to do. Obviously, there's some opponents where you would expect your team's superiority to kind of come to bear on the pitch. But there's an awful lot of games where you have to make little tweaks. And I thought, seeing that against Hibs, it was a really brave decision for me to play 4-1-4-1 because teams never played that in an awfully long time. We've not really been playing even close to it recently because we've been more kind of free at the back. And yet, he kind of did the work on the training ground and backed his team to actually go out and implement that. And I'll take that flexibility all day, every day. My heart won't thank me for it, but in the end of the day, if we win every game from now to the end of the season 1-0 like we did v Hibs, chances are we're going to end up with a league championship at the end of that. And that will be solely down to a manager that has been willing to adapt as needed. He knows he hasn't got world-beaten players. I think Doug's question for me actually begs another question. I don't think it's so much the excuse of Martin's training regime anymore as how many of these players just aren't good enough to be Rangers players long term.
Yeah, that's a good question actually, because you could probably go through the team and
Yeah.
give a ruling, and you'd probably
Well,
get
he did,
different.
didn't he? He did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah. The we can do this first. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you make of this one? That which again I think is a valid one. Doug's calling out. We don't get the boilerplate answers. We don't get the growing as a team and mentality and all this chat. We get 'em right now. I think we've probably got the first manager I would suggest since Steven Gerrard who maybe just says it as it is. Do you think that's fair?
Let's see. So we'll go through them in my head. Gio, Beale, absolutely not. Clement, yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Beale
Yeah, because
was,
as Doug's called out, Clement was kind of prone to, but did you see our XG in his pressers?
He was a real stats man, which isn't
Yeah.
always a bad thing as long as you use them properly instead of that being your basis for every argument and every point you make ever. There has to be an element of how the eye test went and how it actually looks and how it actually plays, as opposed to just looking at numbers on a piece of paper and numbers on a screen. But yeah, Clement. Sorry, not Clement. Roll is a guy like Gerrard. He says it as it is. He watches the games. He analyzes it with his two eyes, which is what everyone else does, or what most people do. And I think that's how he ends up endearing himself to fans more. I think that's why he's got fans on board so much.
I was away to say he seems incredibly attuned to what the support base want to see and hear from him. He seems almost instinctively to, dare I say, get it, as we've kind of called out often enough. I just think, I mean, it's stupid things like the Brown Brogues, right? In the grand scheme of things, it means absolutely nothing. But to Rangers fans,
it's a lot.
It is important.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. The suit on a match
and he just wore them. Whereas Martin, we got a bunch of guff about how he sweats a lot. Really? You know what I mean? I think sometimes some of these guys can be their own worst enemy. There's actually a time where you just kind of drop it and you just think, right, I'm not going to say this because all it's going to be is a red flag to a bull. Martin never got that. I think Rule does. And that's a good one for me.
I wonder
we're at...
Sorry.
Yep.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
No, you go.
I was just saying, I wonder if he's been influenced by how poorly it went with Martin in terms of his relationship with the fans, and he's thought, right, well, regardless of whether or not I actually think it's a load of rubbish, I'll just do it anyway because it'll get the fans on board.
But it seems a no-brainer to do that. You know what I mean? You're coming into a tough situation. Martin was in a tough situation from the off, really, because he wasn't particularly wanted. That's the kind of stupid little things. Wear a pair of brown bloody shoes. It doesn't hurt you. It's not going to cause any issues. And it gets you maybe a few games poor performance grace from the fans. You know what I mean? It's common sense in the end of the day.
Yeah, it really is.
Aye. There we are. As I was going to say, we are at 45 minutes now, so you've probably had about enough of looking at my blank screen. Thank you very much, everyone that has watched. If you've enjoyed what you've heard tonight, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Just before I go, a quick shout to the sponsors in the bottom right there, the Bluebells Bar in Lanzarote, Good Rangers Pub. Thoroughly suggest any fans that are over there, get yourself along. Games going all the time. they even show our pods sometimes. So, you know, what better place to go if you're visiting on holiday anyway? Other than that, thanks for listening, and every night's a Rangers Journal now.
Every night is the Rangers Journal night.